Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 3 Legend of the Dragon King Part 67 based on novel. So let's start. If Xu Xiaoyan's soul skill could restrain even an expert of Wu Zhangkong's level, it was pointless to even mention the Earth Demon Rhinoceros. Despite her attack being ready, Ji Yu did not launch it. Instead, she recalled her soul power and soul rings. After Xu Xiaoyan recovered from her initial surprise, she created an opening with her starlight shackles. Tang Wulin did not let this chance slip away and swiftly remounted the rhinoceros's head. His resplendent golden dragon claw descended upon the rhinoceros's nape. The rhinoceros's defenses were strong, and Tang Wulin didn't know if his claw could penetrate its skull. Since its neck was significantly weaker in comparison, it was the next best target. The moment his claw touched the beast's skin, the golden light clinging to his body converged on it, bathing it in a magnificent glow. The crushing effect of his claw immediately activated and shattered the rhinoceros's outer armor of skin. He thrust his claw into the breach. A moment later, the Earth Demon Rhinoceros collapsed with a loud rumble. Tang Wulin had severed its spine, seizing both its control over its body and its life. It's really strong. As Tang Wulin stared at his sparkling claw that lacked even the tiniest of bloodstains, he felt a flurry of emotions. He had reaped many benefits from breaking the second seal. First was this mysterious golden soul ring that seemed to appear when he unleashed his golden dragon claw. If Tang Wulin's blue-silver grass consumed his soul power, then this golden soul ring consumed his physical strength and blood essence. His golden dragon claw no longer used up his soul power, but he could feel his blood essence drain away to sustain it. If he used up all of his blood essence, however, he would get hungry. As a result of that change, Tang Wulin could now sustain his golden dragon claw for longer periods of time. It also became stronger, while the golden scales amplified Tang Wulin's strength even further. In addition to that, the scales now covered the entire right side of his body, greatly strengthening the parts they covered. All of this was a substantial improvement. He wouldn't have been able to slaughter this Earth Demon Rhinoceros so easily without it. In the back of Tang Wulin's mind, he vaguely knew that the name of the Golden Soul Ring soul skill was Golden Dragon Body. Golden Dragon Body increased Tang Wulin's strength, speed, attack power, and defense as an all-around ability amplifier. However, it increased his strength the most. This was made clear by how he was able to go toe-to-toe against the Earth Demon Rhinoceros without backing down. Of course, Xu Xiaoyan's starlight shackles played a huge role in his swift kill. Without its absolute restraining power, he wouldn't have had a chance to kill the rhinoceros in one attack while facing the many soul skills it possessed. Just as he started reviewing the battle, the beast arena faded away, returning everything to darkness. The stars in the sky warped, giving everyone a short bout of dizziness before their vision became clear again. The four stood face to face with one another, hands joined together, just like before. It seemed as though everything they just experienced had been an illusion. They had experienced fighting in an illusory world during their time in the Spirit Ascension platform, but that had only been possible through the usage of sophisticated technology. Yet this place was not like the Spirit Ascension platform. It felt different here, truly strange. They couldn't fathom the magic behind it, but they were awestruck nonetheless. Xinyi reappeared before them, her expression stranger than ever. The Beast Arena was the second trial of Shrek Academy's entrance exam. The strength and number of soul beasts in the trial varied depending on the number of participants. Surviving for 1 minute was the minimum requirement for passing the trial, while harming the beasts awarded bonus points. Xinyi had purposefully neglected to tell them the minimum requirement to pass this trial, but she had never imagined that they would be so fierce. They had faced an Earth Demon Rhinoceros after all. Even for her, it would have been annoying to kill one with over 3,000 years of cultivation without her battle armor. The rhinoceros's defenses were simply too strong. Yet these kids had slaughtered it. She wondered whether Tang Wulin's claw would still be able to penetrate the rhinoceros's defenses if it had been a bit stronger. Furthermore, there was the mystery of his golden soul ring. No matter how she looked at it, the boy had to have twin martial souls. But surely Wu Zhongkong would have mentioned such a thing to her. The results for second trial, the Beast Arena, Tang Wulin, 10 points, Xie, 10 points, Guu, 8 points, Xu Xiaoyan, 10 points. Wow, how did we score so high? Xie asked in surprise. He hadn't expected to score a full 10 points. Xinyi nodded. You scored highly because you killed the Earth Demon Rhinoceros together. The criteria for passing didn't involve killing it, so even Guu, who didn't attack it, got a high score. We shall now continue. Follow me. As she led the way, Xinyi's heart welled with expectation. These kids really match Shrek's motto. They are like little monsters. Their combat ability is high, and in addition to good teamwork, they are capable of remaining calm during battle. Xinyi was perceptive. She had seen that not a single one of the four had panicked during their battle against the Earth Demon Rhinoceros. Guu was the calmest of them all, but the rest had excitement in their eyes. Xie had even spoken the Earth Demon Rincero's name out loud, meaning all of them knew how formidable the beast was. Even with that knowledge, they did not cower back. Confident in their strength, they rose to the challenge. It was clear they had faced tougher foes before. Senior brother, it seems you've made sure to give them a lot of combat experience. In contrast to Xinyi's feelings of admiration, Tang Wulin furrowed his brow, overcome by confusion. He shot Guu an inquisitive look, and she nodded in response. Although they had scored well in the last two trials, Tang Wulin couldn't relax. Their exam would continue, all of it administered in one go without giving them time to rest. With their current cultivation base, their soul power would be severely limited without any chances to meditate. They didn't know how many more trials there were, but at this rate, their soul power would definitely be exhausted. Fortunately, Tang Wulin now wielded a powerful bloodline soul ring in addition to his martial soul. However, Xu Xiaoyan had used 1/3 of her soul power to restrain the Earth Demon Rhinoceros for a split second with her starlight shackles. If he had been any slower in finishing it off, even more of her soul power would have been consumed. He had looked at Guu to check on her condition, and her nod told him that she was all right. After the last two trials, all four of them understood just what sort of entrance exam Shrek Academy had. Many more unknown trials awaited them. This was just the beginning. Xinyi pulled a sliding door open and brought them to a space between the stone buildings. This was the site of the third trial. A series of gates sat in rows, one after another, with at least 100 covering the area in total. The number of gates in each row varied. These gates were called guillotine gates. Each gate had a gigantic, 2-meter wide, 1-meter tall, 1/2 meter thick guillotine blade. With such an enormous blade, even a full-grown cow would instantly be split in half. The third trial tests your ability to adapt. Once I tell you to get ready, you will have 1 minute to prepare. Once I shout for you to begin, you will have to pass through all of the gates. If you finish within 30 seconds, you get 6 points. For every 3 seconds you finish early, you get an additional point. For every 3 seconds you're late, you will lose 1 point. There are 2 things you need to know about this trial. First, the closer you are to each gate, the faster its guillotine will fall. Since these are real guillotines, you will die if they strike you. Second, you can get a negative score for this trial. If you can't even pass this trial, then forget about taking the later trials. Raise the guillotines. When she finished speaking, she gestured to the side, and the clank of metal resounded as the guillotine blades began to rise. The frontmost gate's guillotine fell with a booming clang, sparks erupting from it as it thudded into the recess below. The sound struck terror into the students' hearts. Then, the blade rose back up and descended again. Following the first guillotine blade, the rest began falling one after another, a metal clamor filling the air. Get ready. The 1-minute countdown begins now. Without giving Tang Wulin and the others even a moment to digest the situation, Xinyi began counting down. The gears of Tang Wulin's mind began turning. We need to cross through the guillotine gates within 30 seconds. The shortest path has 6 gates. Guu, test the power of the guillotine blades. Having a cool head was essential to passing such trials. While Xie was eager to speed through the gates, Xu Xiaoyan stared at them pale-faced. Gu was just as calm as usual, and following Tang Wulin's order, she held out her hand and turned her palm to the sky. Blue light condensed in her hand, forming a 2-meter-long icicle that she shot through the bottom of the guillotine. Clang! The guillotine blade fell, instantly turning most of the icicle into a fine powder while splitting the thickest part of it into two. The descent of one blade produces about 3,000 kilograms of force, Gu announced. Her precise analysis was only possible because of her spiritual connection with the elements. Can you do it? Tang Wulin asked. I can protect one person, Gu responded. How about you, Xie Xie? Leaping from the ground, Xie Xie said, I'm fine. Just as Tang Wulin was about to state their plan, Gu said, how about I protect Xu Xiaoyan and you carry me on your back? It shouldn't be a problem with your physical strength. Xie Xie can then follow right behind us. That should work. Tang Wulin considered it for a moment. The plan he thought up would have Gu and Xie Xie pass through the gates by themselves while he carried Xu Xiaoyan. It was the most logical plan. Gu's arrangement would also work, but he felt that there was something strange about it, so he eyed her suspiciously. A slight blush appeared on Gu's face, but she quickly returned to normal. 10, 9, 8. Xinyi had begun the final countdown. They only had a few seconds left before the trial started. Tang Wulin sucked in a deep breath. There was no time left to change the plan. Gu approached his back and quickly mounted him. With a wave of her hand, green lights enveloped Tang Wulin, Xie Xie, and Xu Xiaoyan. Paralyzed by fear, she just stared at the guillotines. Xiaoyan, don't be afraid, Gu said. You go first. I'll use the earth element to hold the guillotine blades up and we'll follow right behind you. All you have to do is run through quickly. Xu Xiaoyan clenched her jaw and nodded. 3, 2, 1, begin. With Xinyi's declaration, the third trial began. Gu chanted quietly, her hands raised toward the sky. She only managed to stay pressed close to Tang Wulin's back by using her legs. They straddled his waist tightly, his hands gripping the flesh of her thighs. A yellow light flashed as a stone pillar shot up underneath the first gate. Clang! The blade hurtled into the stone pillar, crashing against it. The pillar shook as cracks webbed throughout its stone. Quickly! Gu shouted. In that instant, Xu Xiaoyan's eyes became resolute. After all these years together, she had come to completely trust in her teammates. She leaned forward and dashed through the first gate, joining Xie Xie who had flashed through it earlier. With Gu clinging to his back, Tang Wulin went through last. However, right when he passed directly underneath the guillotine, the stone pillar suddenly collapsed. The gigantic guillotine blade plunged downward. Gu shut her eyes tightly, arms wrapped tightly around Tang Wulin's neck as if she had no intention of leaving him. Her heart was racing, probably because of the tense situation. Tang Wulin, however, only felt her drawing closer to him, her arms and legs wrapped around his neck and waist. Faced with the incoming blade, Tang Wulin showed neither fear nor joy. Isn't this just 3,000 kilograms of force? And it has even been weakened by the stone pillar. Tang Wulin raised his right hand, his blood roaring as his golden dragon claw appeared. He thrust his arm above him, struck the enormous blade, and held it aloft. From her position on the sidelines, Xinyi was dumbstruck. She had witnessed countless students face this trial in the past. Each and every one of them approached it differently, yet this was the first time she had seen someone brazenly grab the blade. That blade weighs over 1,000 kilograms. With gravity added to that, that should have been over 3,000 kilograms of force. He can't. Xinyi nearly shut her eyes subconsciously. She was afraid of the bloody scene she anticipated. But, of course that didn't happen. Clang! Tang Wulin easily caught the blade, only squatting a bit to compensate for the force. Up, he shouted, his right arm filling with strength as fiercely pushed it up. Holding it high in the air, he stepped through the first gate with Gu on his back. Boss, you even human? Xie stared at Tang Wulin in horror. On the other hand, shock showed in Xu Xiaoyon's eyes, forcing her fear into the back seat. "Gu, you don't need to do anything else. I can do this by myself." Now that he had experienced the strength of the guillotine himself, Tang Wulin was confident. He walked toward the second gate with large strides. As the blade dropped, he held up his hand once more and grabbed it. He pushed the blade back up, letting Xu Xiaoyon and Xie pass through before him and Gu. Tang Wulin and his golden dragon claw treated the dreaded guillotine blades like toys. He held up each and every one of them easily. The four of them soon passed through 6 gates, the shortest distance possible. Shenyi was speechless. This kid is looking more and more like a monster. This trial was supposed to test their ability to adapt, their reaction times, and their courage. Against such terrifying guillotines, with only a minute to plan, the ability to adapt quickly was essential to passing the trial. Furthermore, such adaptability could only be founded in courage. Many students who had what it took to pass the trial relied on things such as speed and strength. However, the enormous guillotine struck fear into these examinees who were under 15 years old, leaving many of them too scared to move even an inch. For the students of Class 0, this trial had been exceptionally easy, but for most examinees, it was the hardest trial of them all. With their time limited and their courage tested, many could not make it through the trial within the time limit. Even if examinees were the elite of the elites that major cities recommended, the first trial eliminated a majority of them because their spiritual power was usually just too weak. In comparison, most examinees passed the second trial since it was a simple battle. As for the third trial, over half of the remaining examinees were usually weeded out due to their lack of courage in the face of death. Examinees would normally go through the gates one at a time since they usually couldn't formulate a plan of cooperation in the 1 minute given. Furthermore, there was the question of whether their courage, adaptability, and judgment were up to par. It was only because Tang Wulin possessed all of these qualities in excess that the third trial was so easy for his team. In such a trial, Tang Wulin single-handedly dealt with everything. The trial's difficulty had never crossed his mind. The entire time, he just focused on passing. His courage wasn't even tested here. Even if it were, he had never lacked it. If he had, then he wouldn't have been able to decisively shield Gu from a soul fusion skill with his own body. As for the rest of his team, they rode his coattails to the finish line. It was as if he were propping up the heavens. Shenyi called out their final time. 14 seconds. Tang Wulin swung his arm a bit, flexing his shoulder as he withdrew his claw and his hand returned to normal. Tang Wulin was quite pleased with the results of this trial. Apart from himself, who had called upon his blood essence and soul power, his team conserved almost all of their energy. Now that the third trial was over, Tang Wulin understood how crucial it was to ration soul power for the upcoming trials. If they didn't, they wouldn't be able to last until the end. He had stopped Gu from exercising control over the elements precisely to conserve her soul power. As the strongest of the four, she was better suited for handling the later trials. Tang Wulin took the brunt of the earlier ones. You all scored 10 points. Shenyi strained herself to maintain a mask of tranquility, promptly leading the way to the next test after announcing the results. She had harbored some worry for these kids in her heart, since taking these trials consecutively without rest would be tough, but now it was apparent she had been anxious for nothing. They had scored well on the first 3, and even got full marks on the third and hardest test. Although they didn't break any records for speed, they were the only ones in history to have dominated the trial. That Tang Wulin really deserves to be Class 0's captain. No wonder the talented Gu submits to him so willingly. You can get down now, Tang Wulin said, patting Gu's arms that were wrapped around his neck. Gu buried her head into his back, clinging onto him, pretending as if she hadn't heard his words. Confused, Tang Wulin asked anxiously, "Did you get injured back then?" Gu shook her head softly and under her breath said, Just carry me for a bit longer. I'm a bit scared." Both Xie and Xu Xiaoyon pulled strange faces as they watched the two from the sidelines. What is there for Gu to be afraid of? Does she even understand the meaning of fear? In the two bystanders' eyes, Guu was unaffected by such things, a paragon of indifference. Besides maintaining good relationships with her teammates, she would ignore everyone else. She looked at all strangers with cold, apathetic eyes. In the past 3 years, she hadn't interacted much with Tang Wulin, Xie Xie, or Xu Xiaoyan. Whenever she had a day off, she would bury herself at the Spirit Pagoda. Yet, for some reason, after the start of the Shrek Academy entrance exams, she seemed to warm up a bit. More precisely, she became warmer toward Tang Wulin. The change was quite obvious, and now it was even clearer. Just what is going on here? What they didn't know was that currently, in Guu's mind, there was the image of a naked Tang Wulin soaking in the bathtub, golden mist lingering around his toned body. His muscles shimmered in the moist, wet steam. Although she had gotten just a glimpse of his sculpted assets, it was engraved in her memories, anything and everything. It was at that precise moment that her attitude toward Tang Wulin began changing. Guu's legs were wrapped around Tang Wulin too tightly for him to peel her off. He resigned himself to carrying her. While Guu's heart pounded, Tang Wulin's face grew crimson by the second. Though they were still young, the differences between boys and girls were already becoming apparent, making their marks. Tang Wulin's figure was not bulky, but sturdy and lean. On the other hand, Guu's body was soft, and softness brought toughness, a sweet scent hanging over her form. As he carried her, locks of her hair fell onto his face, tickling him. Once they re-entered the building, they proceeded through another corridor, climbed up the stairs, and finally reached the building's second floor. The walls and ceilings were pure white with gold lines etched into them, as if to portray something. "Those are soul device blueprints?" Xu Xiaoyan asked. She had chosen mecha designer for her secondary profession, and as such she could instantly recognize what these golden lines represented. Why are they decorating the walls with soul device blueprints? Tang Wulin couldn't make sense of the complex diagrams. If his spiritual power was weaker, then perhaps he may have gone dizzy just staring at the diagrams. They entered a large room as he was in mid-thought. Shini pointed to some chairs on the side. "Wait here. I'm going to go get this trial's administrators. This trial will test your personal strength. Only one of your specialties will be examined, so consider carefully what you will present. Your greatest specialty is directly related to your strength." Finished speaking, she about-faced and left. "Our specialty?" Xie Xie was at a loss. Guu finally got down from Tang Wulin's back and sat cross-legged first, meditating and not uttering a word. Tang Wulin took a seat beside her. "This trial is pretty simple. Our specialty is just our greatest strength as a soul master. For example, Xie Xie, you're an agility-type soul master, so you just need to show the limit of your speed. You just need to embody what it means to be an agility-type soul master. Of course, you're not a normal one since you have twin martial souls, so I think you should show off both, a combination of speed and your twin martial souls. It should be the same for everyone else, so just show them what you're best at." Xu Xiaoyan furrowed her brows. "Captain, then what should I do? My full potential only comes up at night." Tang Wulin flashed a wry smile. "You'll just have to make do by describing it with words. You already used it during the second trial, so it shouldn't be hard to find proof. It should be fine as long as you explain your ability thoroughly. As long as you're speaking the truth, I don't think they'll demand you to show it." Xu Xiaoyan's expression eased. "I got it." Tang Wulin said, "All right, rest as much as you can everyone. This is a rare opportunity." He closed his eyes in an instant and began meditating the moment he finished speaking. The strength of his blood essence was closely related to his soul power. The greater his soul power, the mightier his blood essence. With no food in sight, his only option was to recover his soul power. However, they weren't given much time to rest. Not even 5 minutes later, Shinyi returned with 3 people in tow. 2 were middle-aged while the third was an elderly lady. The elderly lady held a walking stick in her hand, her gait unsteady as she walked over to a long table and took a seat. The 2 middle-aged men treated her with respect, sitting down on each side of her after she was seated. This left Xinyi to stand on the side. The old lady scrutinized the still meditating four examinees across from her, who were unaware of the three's arrival. A smile tugging at the corner of her mouth, she said in a hoarse voice, "These kids sure know how to make the most of their time. All right then, little E, tell them we're beginning." "Yes, Elder Cai?" Xinyi showed no discontent at how the old lady addressed her, and instead, answered deferentially. She took quick steps toward the four examinees to wake them up. "This trial's administrators are here now." Xinyi asked, "Which of you will go first?" Tang Wulin studied his teammates as he considered. Since they were a team of four, he had to determine the best method for the whole group, especially since the first to go up would likely leave the deepest impression. The order they went in was crucial. The first to proceed needed to go with a bang. "Xie, you up first." After announcing his decision, he shifted over to Xie's side and whispered a few words into his ear. "Okay." Xie nodded, then stood up, walking to the center of the room. "Hello, teachers," he said as he bowed deeply to the three examiners. The old lady chuckled. "Kid, go on and begin. You only have one chance, so show me what you're best at." "Yes," Xie answered respectfully while 3 soul rings appeared beneath him. 2 yellow and 1 purple, the 3 soul rings twinkled in the air. A moment later, his 3rd soul ring, the soul purple one, lit up. His body blurred into 3 identical clones standing side by side. They couldn't be differentiated by the naked eye. The 3 Xies bowed to the teachers, then, in an instant, their figures became transparent as they dashed off in separate directions with bizarre steps. Each one held a light dragon dagger. The air hissed as each of the daggers sliced through the air. The slashes grew faster, blurred, until each of the 3 figures seemed like a thrashing whirlwind. The clones flitted around the area, the wind raging as they fought an imaginary opponent at the eye of the hurricane. The 2 middle-aged teachers were astonished. Using their soul power to envelop the arena, they could tell that these invisible clones were tangible existences. Soul skills that produce clones weren't anything special, and were actually a common sight among agility-type soul masters. 3 clones were fairly impressive, but still couldn't be considered much to Shrek Academy. 6 clones, however, were a different story, especially since half of them were invisible. 30 seconds later, the 3 clones merged back into one figure. Sweat dripped from Xie's forehead as he bowed to the 3 teachers 3 times. "I'm finished with my performance." The old lady looked at him with interest. "Kid, your twin martial souls are similar to one another, correct?" "Yes, that's right." Xie wasn't surprised at the elder's insight into his secret. This was Shrek Academy after all. The old lady nodded. "Not bad, but you still lack control. You've only scratched the surface of the Tang sect's ghost shadow perplexing track. Don't try to rush progress and don't bite off more than you can chew. Refine your ghost shadow perplexing track more before giving all of your clones the same abilities. Furthermore, your spiritual power is too weak at the moment. It's impossible for you to have complete control over 3 clones at once. Focus on strengthening your spiritual power first. If you can reach the Spirit Sea realm within 3 years, your future will be boundless." Xie had been quite proud of himself. With his twin dragon clones, each one utilizing Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track against one target, he considered himself quite formidable. However, he couldn't say a single word to refute the old lady's criticism. She had hit each nail right on the head, pinpointing each and every one of his weaknesses. Xie happily bowed once more, his head nearly dipping below his knees. Admiration welled from the bottom of his heart. "Thank you for your guidance. I will do my best to improve myself." "Amen," the old lady nodded. "Next." Xie returned to the others in humiliation, shoulders drooping and his face bitter. The next person to go up was Xu Xiaoyan. Similar to Xie, she had received some instructions from Tang Wulin. "What's wrong with you? Are you depressed?" Tang Wulin asked Xie softly. Xie laughed bitterly in response. "That's right. I originally thought I was pretty amazing, but I don't think I did too well in this trial." Tang Wulin smiled calmly. "It's fine. Actually, I think it's the opposite. I bet you scored quite highly. That grandmother is clearly the central figure among the three teachers. If she thought you were rotten wood that couldn't be carved, would she have given you so much advice? Besides, we're students. We came to Shrek to learn. What would be the point of coming if we already know everything? Xie was dumbstruck. That's right. I'm not horrible, that grandmother was just telling me how to make future progress. Tang Wulin patted him on the leg. Let's watch. Xu Xiaoyan stood in the center of the room and bowed to the three teachers. You may start, the old lady said. My sincerest apologies to the three examiners, Xu Xiaoyan said. I am unable to show you my specialty because it is still daytime. My martial soul is different at night. From a certain perspective, I can be considered a monster of a soul master. That is why I have come to Shrek. Moving the examiners with words alone was not an easy task. Tang Wulin knew this, so he had instructed her to immediately point out her uniqueness. Being a monster was Shrek's motto. Calling herself one would instantly draw the attention of the examiners. Oh? Then how are you different at night? The examiner on the old lady's left asked. Xu Xiaoyan summoned her ice staff and grabbed it with her right hand, 2 yellow soul rings rising as she did so. During the day, my martial soul is just the ice staff, which excels at controlling the battlefield and long-ranged attacks. At night, I gain the power of starlight, and my martial soul transforms into the Star Wheel ice staff, changing my soul skills. A spark of excitement appeared in the old lady's eyes. I know of the Star Wheel ice staff. It came from the Xu family long ago, but not many of them had it. Your surname is Xu. The old lady's words took Xu Xiaoyan by surprise. That's right. You know about my family? The old lady smiled calmly. There are very few things in the world of soul masters that Shrek doesn't know about. You can go back now. Xu Xiaoyan gaped at her. But I'm not done explaining. The old lady's brow wrinkled. Since I know about your origins, why wouldn't I know about the absolute control of your starlight soul skills? Now go on back to your friends. Oh. Xu Xiaoyan bowed again before leaving. Tang Wulin was already standing to welcome Xu Xiaoyan back, nodding with approval. You did great. Relax. His words of assurance caused the tension to flow out of her body. Tang Wulin walked past her toward the center of the room. The old lady inspected Tang Wulin curiously. You seem quite confident. Her words caught him off guard, but he quickly realized his mistake and bowed. Greetings to the three examiners. The old lady smiled strangely. They seem to trust you. Show me what you can do. Show me why they have so much faith in you. Yes. Tang Wulin didn't explain himself. He now realized that the three examiners had likely heard everything he whispered into Xie and Xu Xiaoyan's ears. They were truly formidable, worthy of being teachers of Shrek Academy. My speciality is power, he said. A golden light flashed in his eyes and his blood essence erupted outward. In a world of his own, he could hear the sound of his blood pumping through his veins like a mighty river. His right arm swelled with strength, golden scales covering it. Then a golden soul ring appeared. Ah! Shock wiped the smile off the old lady's face, her eyes wide at the resplendent soul ring. Beside her, the other two examiners similarly gaped at the sight before them. All of the colors a soul ring could be had long since been established in the world of soul masters. White represented a 10-year soul ring, yellow meant 100-year, purple stood for 1,000-year, black indicated 10,000-year, and red signified 100,000-year. Normal soul rings could be one of those 5 colors. However, in the entire history of the Delor continent, soul rings with special colors had appeared. The appearance of such a soul ring signified immense power. In the history of Shrek Academy, a golden soul ring had appeared once. Tang San of the original Shrek 7 monsters, the founder of the Tang sect, had killed a million-year soul beast and obtained a golden soul ring. Yet million-year soul rings had only appeared twice in the history of the Delor continent. The second person to possess a million-year soul ring was the legendary figure that the plaza was named after, the founder of the Spirit Pagoda, Spirit Ice Dole or Hui Yu Hao. However, Hui Yu Hao's million-year soul ring was different from Tang San's. His was white and could easily be disguised as a 10-year soul ring. According to the analyses of later generations of soul masters, Tang San's million-year soul ring had been directly obtained from a soul beast, resulting in its golden color. Hui Yu Hao, on the other hand, had been lucky enough to fuse with the million-year Skydream Iceworm which had slept all the way until it reached the million-year level. This was the supposed reason for the difference in color. Although the Spirit Ice Dolure's soul ring became very powerful, it wasn't on par with Tang San's golden soul ring. This video will end here.